More drive, Jesse? More drive? Yeah, it's a nice day, isn't it? Jesse wants to go for a drive. Let's go. In the car. Anywhere you want to go for a drive in particular, Jesse? Good boy, putting your seatbelt on. Well done, Jesse. You say go. Go. Let's go. Hi guys, Andy here. Let me tell you a little bit more about my son Jesse and his journey. Jesse was born 2011, and the first few years of his life were relatively normal. He met his normal milestones of growth and even walking and transitioning to normal foods at relatively normal times, but his language was lacking, and he wouldn't respond necessarily if you called his name. So there was a lack of eye contact. But he was interested in things in some way, a little bit obsessive with certain toys. For instance, the Thomas the Tank Engine. He would carry a James toy around with him wherever he goes, and then it moved on to headphones. And then when I say headphones, those ones with the wires, he used to swing those around and play with them in all sorts of unique ways. And another trend was aeroplanes, where he had an aeroplane with him constantly. But there was some connection to normal child behaviour with that. So, but nevertheless, we became aware that he was behind in his speech, and there was a few differences in his behaviours and a bit of his abilities and communication styles. So it took him to get checked out, and immediately realised with the experts that yes, he was behind across the board, and that he wasn't developing in a natural, normal way. And when he was probably about 3 or 4, they gave the diagnosis of a global developmental delay. And that is a diagnosis that is given probably to a broad range of children at a young age when they're not really sure if it's going to progress into, for instance, autism or intellectual disability, a neurological issue, or whether it's just that they're delayed and they will catch up and become part of their cohort and progress as normal without any noticeable issues. So there's those possibilities, but it's a strong connection that possibly there is something going on in their development that might be a long-term issue. And but still, there was an expert who looked at Jesse at that time when he was 3, and he did not diagnose Jesse with autism, which later on was remarked by experts in the other professionals in the field, that it was quite remarkable that this particular medical practitioner did not pick up or diagnose Jesse with autism at age 3, because they really held this man, who had since retired, in such high regard. And normally autism is picked up at around 2, 3, even younger. And so it's quite often apparent at that stage. And if an expert didn't pick it up, it kind of meant that Jesse didn't have autism at that stage, or it was not sure or undetectable in that sense. So he progressed to going to a normal preschool, and then he started his first year at a private school, mainstream private school, in the what they would call the prep year, which is still preschool, I guess, but they wore a uniform, and it was a little bit more structured, and it was on the school site, but it wasn't the first kindergarten or prep year that I know here in New South Wales, Queensland and Victoria. But but it was a preparation year like the preschool, but a little bit more formalised and structured. And he participated and did the activities as normal. And by the end of the year, he was expected to progress to kindergarten, the first year of school here in New South Wales. And at that time, the teachers, who were very good, they were very on the ball and understanding that Jesse was probably a little bit behind his peers in the same year in just maybe things like holding a pen, communicating, doing the normal activities. He was not so bad that he was asked to leave or anything like that. They thought just give him a bit more time and he can catch up and he will do well. It will benefit him if he has another year. I think his birthday was in December, so it wasn't like a big deal that he would do the year again. And so I agreed, and that was the best thing for him. Then about the Easter break, which is the first holidays of the school year here in Australia, he had, I think he was coming to he was 5, and I think he had his last scheduled childhood vaccinations. And he had a strange response to that where he refused to walk for 2 weeks after that. He continued his interest in his toys and was playing, but he was playing on his knees or sitting and would not stand up literally for 2 weeks. I would have to carry him if I wanted him to move somewhere quickly. Other than that, he was quite content crawling around and playing with things, but it was just strange that he wouldn't get up and walk. After the 2 weeks holidays, I took him back to preschool, to the prep, not knowing what on earth would happen. And I was just hoping that he would start walking, and lo and behold, after 2 weeks, he kind of had to. Once I dropped him at the preschool, and he gingerly started to take steps again, and I left, and he started walking again after that, which was a relief. But after the Easter time in his second year, I think that was the first year, that incident with the vaccinations, that might have been in his first year that I was just talking about. In the second year, around the same time, he had a major regression where it seemed like overnight he lost the words that he had. And he did do a lot of echolalia before that, but some functional words, and he had quite a big vocabulary of words. And for some reason, overnight, he just lost his words and went into his own world, completely lost eye contact, started flapping his arms and saying just odd things like talking about monsters, and just it seemed totally disconnected. And it was a shock, and it was a jolting and a tragic and bizarre and shockingly sad experience that seemed to happen overnight. And you go from one day having a great relationship or a certain relationship with a child, affectionate, and then the next day he hardly acknowledges you're there and is not interested in touching or making eye contact. It's a very confronting and distressing experience. And the prep school from then on that year literally managed and put up with him with great difficulty. But at the end of that year, they made us aware that they could not cater for him in the main school, in the kindergarten, and going forward, they weren't funded to care for that. So that's when he had to go to a special unit in a state school, and even that was not really a place where the teachers were trained to or equipped to care for someone with his higher needs. So he was there for a year, but during that year we applied for a brand new special school that was being built in the area, and that he started in 2019, his year one. Now he's in year 7. He's continued on at that school, and it's been ideal for him. It's been amazing. They're trained very well. The student ratio is very good, about 2 staff to 6 children. It's very modern with the touch screens and different areas if they have meltdowns or behavioural issues, and they're outside contained areas, very secure. They even have an indoor swimming pool, so it's been an amazing experience and something that I'm very grateful for here living in Australia, that we do care for our most vulnerable. So yeah, I look forward to sharing more videos and more information about Jesse. Hopefully, it can provide support and comfort for others who are going through similar situations. And please reach out with your comments and like and subscribe, and that would show us support, and together we can be encouraged, because it's not an easy journey dealing with these disabilities and the issues that come with it. It's difficult for the children, the people with disabilities, but it's also difficult for the family and the broader community as well. So please reach out and make comments and interact with the videos. And we look forward to more in the future. See you for now. Bye.